This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
Welcome to Daily Blast Live. It's Tuesday, March 3rd, Super Tuesday.
Yes.
I'm here with Al, Brandon, Lindsay, and I'm Tori, and I voted.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get right to it.
Did you get up early?
No, I welcome Lindsay!
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
About voting when we got Lindsay here.
Voting is very important. I didn't have to work today.
Make sure that's tagged with our show. Who cares about voting?
Lindsay's here. But I put a
Welcome back,
comma,
girl.
and then I put another sentence.
Welcome back, Lindsay. We're glad to have you. We are tracking the latest facts on the coronavirus outbreak here in the States right now. There are more than 100 Americans who have tested positive for the virus. 6 have died in Washington State, and New York reported their second case this morning. Here's a list of the symptoms for the coronavirus according to the CDC. So they include fever, cough, and shortness of breath. At a White House briefing yesterday, officials said nearly 1 million people in the U.S. could be tested for coronavirus this week. And the head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, Dr. Anthony Fauci, had this to say about what measures could be taken if the outbreak gets worse. Let's take a look.
If we get a major outbreak of this coronavirus in this country, that would mean perhaps closing schools temporarily, getting people to do more teleworking, canceling events where there is a lot of crowds in confined places, canceling unnecessary travel so that you're not on an airplane for 5 hours with a bunch of people who might be infected.
More and more officials are talking about possible, quote, and you're going to be hearing this phrase a lot, social distancing measures, like limiting contact with people, avoiding large crowds, and of course, washing your hands. So what are you guys doing right now to protect yourself? Are you making any future plans? Are you canceling any plans?
Well, I'm a road comic, so I have to be on planes for a large amount of time. But I do notice myself, I'm not a hand sanitizer guy. I wash my hands a lot, but I have been doing that. I've noticed there's more hand sanitizer stations even here at the station.
Yep.
Like down near the weight room, they're at the end of the staircase where people will be touching a railing, touching a handle. There's the hand sanitizer right there, and I've been using that.
I love how you threw in that he was down at the weight room just now. We know you.
I'm sorry, I'm busting out of my jacket. I can't read.
I mean, it's crazy how we need some sort of threat of a virus outbreak for people to wash their hands on a daily basis. But back to what you're saying is, I fly to Germany and the UK next week, and we stop in Seattle. I'm thinking about canceling that because Seattle has been a hub to this, and there have been a lot of people that have caught this out in Washington. But Lindsay, you have just come back from Paris, so what's the mood or what's the vibe like over in Europe right now?
I think probably more. I used to laugh about everybody who wiped their seats down with sanitizer and had it on them, but I was one of those people this time, and it wasn't really a big deal. I say 30% of people traveling had a mask on or was doing something to protect themselves, and it just was like, go about your day. I think that everybody has to remember, if you take care of yourself and take care of yourself in this moment, you can continue to live your life. The CDC says that in order to get a germ or a virus on a plane is very hard based on how the air filters. So it's not as simple as everyone seems. It happens, sure, people get sick from travel, but it might not be just on the plane where you got sick. Could be in the airport. So that condensed space, people shouldn't be so worried about just being on it. Get the appropriate mask. I didn't do all my research before I went, so there is a certain mask you can order off Amazon, not like the cotton one, the one that you actually see doctors wear. And if you don't feel comfortable walking around the airport, put it on when you sit down. It's not a big deal.
Nice.
Travelocity.com.
Wow.
Okay,
around the world.
I mean, I did my research. I'm traveling.
All right, somebody comes back from Paris and they got all that.
Excuse me, Your Majesty. I want to move on to Super Tuesday.
Yes, this is Tori's Super Bowl.
This is my day, guys. All right, election 2020 is kicking off in a big way right now as 14 states are voting in the primary as we speak. A lot of you writing me in. I voted too. Brahimi Ravi is waiting to vote live in Ohio. Last night, Joe Biden picked up some key endorsements from his Democratic rivals. Take a look at this rally last night in Dallas.
Today, I am ending my campaign and endorsing Joe Biden for president.
March 3rd, 2020, I will be casting my ballot for Joe Biden.
You know, when I ran for president, we made it clear that the whole idea was about rallying the country together to defeat Donald Trump and to win the era for the values that we share. And it is in the name of that very same goal that I'm delighted to endorse and support Joe Biden for president.
lot of people are now saying this is essentially a two-man race between Biden and Bernie Sanders. Just so you know, Biden is the youngest Democratic candidate running, which is crazy. Of course, Bloomberg will also find out soon enough if his big bet to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars will pay off. Everyone just raise your hand on the panel if you think the Bloomberg bet paid off.
Well, I see him doubling down. He said that he's going to go all the way to contested convention on Fox News. He said that if it doesn't go away, if no one is like that has the overall amount of delegates, he's going to keep pushing and try to get in there. So if he does, you talked about it earlier. You can sway people to come to your side at the convention. It's kind of like a negotiation. So if we get down to July at the Democratic convention and he's still in the running and trying to put his name in the hat, he might still have a chance.
I got to say, after South Carolina with the resounding victory of Joe Biden with double digits, the black vote clearly said, we will not accept your racist stop and frisk. They turned their backs on him when he came to a church in South Carolina. They overwhelmingly felt Joe Biden was
I don't think he's going to give up because of his ego. I didn't say he's going to win. I don't think he's going to stop going forward.
Do you think it's working, though? Do you think it'll work?
I mean, we're about to see today in a couple hours if $500 million bet was worth it or not. That's
I don't think it did. Do you?
No.
Do you?
No.
Okay, me neither.
Not
Let us know. All right, big failure.
Zero.
One of the biggest names covering politics in America for decades retired live on air. This is going everywhere today. Chris Matthews, host of MSNBC's long-running show Hardball, made the announcement halfway through the show last night after he was accused of making sexist comments to a guest on his show in 2016. Matthews also apologized for his behavior. Take a look.
Let me start with my headline tonight. I'm retiring. Compliments on a woman's appearance that some men, including me, might have once incorrectly thought were okay. We're never okay. Not then and certainly not today. And for making such comments in the past, I'm sorry.
After the show went to break, Steve Kornacki took over the broadcast, and he even seemed a little surprised by the turn of events, saying Matthews leaving was, quote, a lot to take in. I watched the whole thing live. I texted you guys, and he was like, we have a full hour to fill. And I just did some research. Chris Matthews apparently was ushered right out. He didn't tell any of the guests on his show. They were all shocked. He went straight to his family and left midway through the show, and they had an agreement with MSNBC. He's made some big gaffes in the past couple of weeks, as we've seen confusing a black person for another senator, and saying that if Sanders wins, it's like Nazi taking over France. Yeah. So I get that he should leave, but some of the comments he made to the women were like, why haven't I fallen in love with you yet? And to me, that is not a big deal.
Well, back in 1999, he also had a sexual harassment claim against him, and the network deemed that the comments were inappropriate. So this is going back for quite some time, for a long time, and this is not the network that's going to allow you to do this anymore.
Hashtag Matt Lauer.
Hashtag Matt Lauer. So, I mean, that's that type of behavior that we're talking about, and people are going to get off of TV.
Brandon, I'm going to say this, and it's weird, and Tori, it's interesting that you said this. We keep going like they were inappropriate comments. I didn't know they were inappropriate at the time. My question is like, would you have said it if her husband was sitting next to her?
Right.
That's all I want to know. Because anything I've ever said to you, I would say in front of Colin. Anything I've ever said in front of Kiri, I would say, our wardrobe stylist, I would say in front of her husband. You know when you're saying something inappropriate. You know when you're touching somebody inappropriately. It's not like, Brandon, you're crazy, but it's like, hey, you know what that is. So don't play this whole pie in the sky thing like you didn't know.
One of the quotes was, a woman was wearing a dress, and he goes, oh, are you going on a date later? Like, that's the extent to where this person was uncomfortable. To me, that is nothing.
He was saying things about her makeup and
he said, why haven't I fallen in love with you?
He said, and then he said to the makeup stylist, keep putting makeup on her and I'm going to fall in love with her.
I just want to know what happened inside of that meeting, because he had an illustrious career. He really started MSNBC, if you think about it, from the 90s. And so to leave midway through your show, he had to be very upset. MSNBC had to be very upset. And, they have a history of kind of, when people leave the company, it turns a little awry. You saw what happened with Tamron Hall. She left middle of the show, and Curry, middle of the show. So I don't know what happened behind those closed doors. But I think something had to happen crazy for him to say, I'm leaving midway through the show.
Yeah, which was a weird send-off for someone who is already a speechwriter for Jimmy Carter. He goes all the way back to that. Unbelievable. Well,
those speeches in fast forward as well? Why does he talk so fast?
He talks way too fast. And he interrupts like, rah, 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 rah. I'm like, okay. But he's a lion of the news, and he will be missed. The LA District Attorney is apologizing right now. Jackie Lacey said her husband is profoundly sorry for what happened yesterday when a group of 50 Black Lives Matter protesters came to her house at around 5:40 in the morning. Video of this moment has gone viral, and a warning to our viewers, it is a little graphic. Take a look.
Good morning.
Get off of my porch. I will shoot you. Get off of my porch.
Can you tell Jackie Lacey that we're here?
I don't care who you are. Get off of my porch right now. We're calling the police right now.
Good.
Okay, we've gone back and forth. That is Jackie Lacey's husband. Obviously, there was a miscommunication of when they were supposed to arrive.
Miscommunication, I'd say so.
At 5:40 in the morning?
Yeah, they're saying they had it planned. Some people are saying it wasn't. What do you guys take?
Go ahead, Lindsay.
No, at first I was like, don't be on my porch at that time, period. But I really read the story, and this is what happened. So these protesters were very upset with her. They wanted her to do something differently and meet with them since she let Ed Buck get off, who has a history of luring gay African-American men into his house and injecting them with crystal meth.
Wow.
So this man is now criminally charged with that after she decided not to charge him. And these people want to know why the black lives in that situation, because they were black gay men, didn't matter.
Wow.
So they've been asking her to meet for over a year. And they were like, well, we're just going to peacefully protest at your door. Now, in the middle of the Black Lives Matter movement is guns in faces, guns pointed at black people. So for her husband to do that, it literally defeats the entire purpose of the peaceful protest. You know, it's kind of like, I understand why they're upset. They literally want to meet with this woman to see you're running again, and you're an African-American woman running on that stance, and you have not helped people of color in this movement.
But is that the place to do that? Is that the time and place to do that? Because they've confronted this woman in public places before. Now, she's agreed to meet with them before, but as a husband,
but
as a protector,
when is a good time to meet?
At 5:40 in the morning, can I
They're
get my
trying to say
phone just
now's
in
a
my
good
car?
time.
You guys are missing the point that, look, let's just start. You can't pull a gun on somebody.
On your property? If they're on your property.
If there is a perceived threat, and just from hearing that, it did not sound like
they
there
were
was
literally standing outside.
If they had pitchforks out there or bats, we're having a totally different conversation. That seemed like they were fairly peaceful. No one was yelling.
Unarmed.
Even after a gun was pointed in that woman's face, she still was at a 4.
Yeah.
So
After they've confronted his wife time after time in public
if that gun
places.
goes off, what are we talking about this morning?
That's
I
on
see
him.
what you're saying about
That's on
protecting your
him.
wife, but man, you cannot pull a gun unless you're ready to use it.
I'm with Al on this one, but I also want to know where you would buy a pitchfork. I don't even know where to get that.
Totally a vintage shop.
DBL's live and coming up. Online dating can be challenging for singles of any age, but we've got some helpful tips to make your profile stand out. Well, from dating to marriage to divorce, who gets the wedding ring when it's time to split? It's a hot topic that's got you buzzing. We're sharing your comments coming up next in Fifth Host.
We're talking about how often you think protesters show up at their local government's place of business or home. And I think it happens more often than, I haven't done any research, so I don't really know the numbers. But if they're standing there protesting outside the home, it seems like something that happens often.
If it's somewhere, it's just like when the media come to your house. Your media are not allowed to be on your property. You can stand on government or public property, which is the sidewalk, and you can do whatever you want. Now, I can see why this man may be agitated, because they have confronted her in public places over and over again. That's what they're saying. That's what the articles that I read. So at 5:40 in the morning, if you see 40 to 50 people on your property, on your front porch, I hope it.
Now, granted,
What's a good time frame to meet with somebody who's telling you, I want to know why you didn't charge this man with anything?
5:40 in the morning at your
A year
house.
later, I'm saying she never met with these people. They're
She had a
frustrated with
year.
her. Like,
She's
literally,
a public servant.
this dude is a big Democratic donor. I mean, gave millions to different campaigns, and that's why they think that she didn't get him in jail or put him in jail, because he had donated millions to every Democratic candidate. Exactly.
Yeah.
And he had several men that died in his apartment that were injected with the same drug that he was giving them.
Did he think it was okay?
I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, you showing up at my house, that's not going to work at all.
Right, so two rights don't make it wrong.
You think she's going to come down in her robe and be like, okay, let's sit down and talk
But see,
about it?
see that they're serious about, like, hey, we want to talk to you. But if your husband kills them, then just, like,
I would say pointing a gun at anybody is a crossroads in your life. Like, you are never going to be the same person that you were there. Yeah. They will never be the same person that they were before that. So when you're ready to take it there, if it was 3:30 in the morning, that's wrong. But when you show up and somebody's got a gun, we just did a story about this yesterday. You know,
I want
you
to talk
can't
about
pull a
how
gun out
NBC is so
for somebody
selective
that's skipping train cars.
with who gets fired and who gets killed.
Welcome back to DBL. It's time for Fifth Host, and there are always two sides when it comes to divorce. And a debate on ring etiquette has you fired up. Marriage is usually symbolized with pricey rings that can also have sentimental value, especially if the ring has been passed on for generations. Many states even have laws about who gets to keep a wedding ring once the marriage ends. But DBL Nation, we want to hear from you. Who should keep the wedding ring in a divorce?
Okay, Netta from YouTube says, I gave my husband the best years of my life, and he left me for some young thing. I pawned that ring so fast I had a diamond necklace at our divorce proceedings. You know what? Go ahead, Netta. Listen, I'm keeping the ring. I don't care. We get divorced. That's my ring. I'm not giving. This ain't no take backs.
Brandon
I'm sorry.
is staring at
You bought me a ring. I'm keeping the ring. It's just like if I bought you anything in the marriage, you can go ahead and leave with that. Now, if we talk about a prenuptial agreement, then we can decide everything else. But the ring, it's a dub for you getting it back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Hard no for
a hard no.
Welcome back.
That is a hard no.
Stephen from Facebook says it was technically a gift, but if a person wants to do the right thing, then they should give it back. It goes to who bought it. It's not a gift. I'm not giving you a
What are you going to do?
toaster.
Get a quarter of your money back at a pawn shop?
A gift is a toaster. I want my money back because we're going through the divorce proceedings and they're going to cost a lot of money. So I need to pawn this so I can get Johnny Cochran or whoever else is out there.
Johnny Cochran is tagged.
He died 30 years ago.
I'm using reference.
The poor man. Nice timely reference in the words of Al.
Y'all got to keep up sometimes.
I think you got to keep up.
Let me
He's
tell
been
you
dead
something.
for decades.
Your wife, if you ever get divorced, is keeping the ring. I could almost put money on it.
She is. Brandon.
Okay, especially. Never mind.
All right, go ahead, Al.
All right. Leonardo, cool name from Facebook, says, I would sell it if it was worth anything or give it back to prove that it wasn't.
Wow.
Ooh. I think in a weird way, you giving it back would, if you really want to kind of hurt that person, because if you keep it, that gives a reason for that person to stay in your life, to keep going back and forth, emails, saying mean things to each other. If you go, hey, take your ring and I wish you nothing but the best, after that person knows they wronged you, they're going to take that and walk away. That's the next level of just pain,
That's
Lindsay.
true. Bramini Ravi wrote, I would sell it because I know I'm getting another one.
Ooh,
good on her.
I'm confident our listeners are.
I love that. Veronica from Twitter says, it's common sense. You both keep your rings and you move on. The problem is if you're just engaged, the man or the partner, one of you doesn't have the ring yet because that's a wedding ring on the other one. So here's the deal. I would, if you are worried about it, write it literally on a napkin. If we get divorced, this person gets the ring and sign it, and that's valuable as long as you have a witness.
But what newlyweds that are in love are going to say, hey, let's talk about our divorce really quickly?
If it's a $100,000 ring, you might want to write a napkin.
I mean, if it's an engagement ring, that's one thing. I might give it back.
Let's get some paper.
But if you're in a long marriage, it's my ring. I'm sorry.
I'm with you on that.
Engagement, fine. Take your ring back. You go ahead.
Ooh.
Marriage, mine.
I hope Colin's watching today.
Coming up on DBL.
Get it insured, bro.
Colin, we love you. A top staffer at the dating app Bumble shares the top things you can do right now if you're looking for love online. We'll be right back. Colin, we got to call him right now.
Jumps in there. Zoe, Marquita, I knew Johnny Cochran was dead. It's the first lawyer that popped
Just
up in
put
my
Junior at the end of it. He's a lawyer.
Johnny Cochran.
Here's my question. I have a question for the whole panel.
And I have some inside scoop after, some tea.
Let's say that
That's the tea.
Oh, you're going to tell us that another time?
No, after Al wants to go.
Oh, okay.
You're drinking coffee.
Can anyone let Al speak, please?
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, you guys have been in a perfect 10-year marriage, right? And you go to get your ring cleaned, and you find out it's cubic zirconium.
Yes.
What does that affect anything? Are you like, I don't care, it's been good?
My mom's friend that said that her friend, she was with her when they got it clean, they both decided to go, and her friend kept saying, they don't know what they're talking about, like just like trying to play it off. Like I feel like she knew that. Well, maybe she didn't know.
I was going to say, your relationship
So what did
is
she
based
do?
on a lie, though, because if you were
No, I
lied
think
to-
about our finances 10 years ago. Like, oh,
Yeah, you gotta
okay,
be in
it
on
makes
this
sense
together.
now. I still love this woman.
Yeah,
Now
you gotta
we're
be in
rich
on this
now. Go
together.
get me a better ring.
Okay, quickly, I got to tell you something really quick. Apparently, DC insiders said Obama called Buttigieg last night and said you should use your leverage to back Biden. Because remember, Biden was Obama's VP. So we should be hearing an Obama endorsement soon. Huh? Some tea. Some tea, right? That was good.
Call 1-800-281-4098. 1-800-281-4098.
Welcome back to DBL. It can be a tough world for singles of any age, especially when it comes to online dating. But with the right advice, love is possible for anyone. Earlier today, I got to chat with Bumble's head of editorial content, Claire O'Connor, to get tips straight from the source. Take a look. Claire from Bumble, thank you so much for joining us on Daily Blast Live. I'm going to be real with you. When I think about dating apps, I think about young people looking for hookups, and most older women, I would say, feel the same. So how do you convince a woman over 50 to try out Bumble?
I think that for a long time, there's been this image of online dating as something for Gen Z and millennials. We certainly have seen on our own app folks who, might have come out of a tough relationship, a divorce. They might have kids. Actually, our founder and CEO's grandfather, well into his 80s, was using Bumble. I think the beautiful thing about it is that you can be really clear with what you want. You can use that bio, that profile to say, just to come out and say it, I'm in my 50s. I have not done this before. I'm new to it, so go gently. And if this sounds good to you, let's talk. And I really think that that's a huge benefit rather than just kind of propping yourself up at a bar or just hoping to meet someone in real life.
So can you give me some tips on how to improve my profile?
The first tip actually has more to do with safety. Get your profile verified. You'll get that blue check mark. And that'll help other folks feel confident that you're not catfishing them. Other things to do, take a close look at what photos you're using. I think there's a temptation to put that one gorgeous selfie you love up there and then
Yes.
leave it, or put, a photo from 20 years ago in college where you felt really hot. No one's falling for that, first of all. But second of all, we have data showing that folks who put more than 3 photos are going to have 31% more matches. That's significant. So, on our app, you have 6 slots. Fill all 6 of those.
So now what should I look out for in profiles so that I'm making better matches?
We want you to just, meet folks who you wouldn't maybe consider in your own area. I think one piece of advice that we like to give is to really take a look at your settings. Some folks, especially, if they're somewhere like LA or Chicago or New York, they will pick 1 or 2 miles as their radius. So you're leaving out all sorts of interesting, wonderful people who you're just not going to meet. So widen it out, put 10 miles, 50 miles. The same goes for age. You could be 30 and think, all right, I guess 28 to 32. There's no reason not to just widen that out a little bit. Same could be for someone in their 60s. We really don't see a whole ton of difference there.
Okay, Claire, you made me a fan. I'm a Bumble believer. It sounds like there's hope for online daters of all ages. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
See, online dating can work for anyone. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Beauty Blasters, what's up? It's Jeray for the Slay. I've missed you guys so much. I know, y'all miss my face too. I know, the feeling's so mutual, guys. However, I'm back and it's time for some red light tips with your boy Jeray for the Slay. Now, today, it's summer and it's hot out, y'all. It's time to put down that full coverage foundation and pick up a tinted moisturizer. But you don't always have to go out and buy a brand new tinted moisturizer. Sometimes you can make one at home for yourself. So I went ahead and make a little tutorial here, or actually, I'll just show you guys, alrighty? So you're gonna take your full coverage foundation. This one's from Makeup Forever HD. You don't wanna use like a stick or anything like that. You simply wanna use something that's a liquid base and not something that's going to be extremely mattifying. So if you're working with like a oil control foundation, you might want to go ahead and use something that's going to just be full coverage for normal to dry skin. However, what you can do next, if you have that liquid foundation, is take a little bit of moisturizer. I'm just using Embryolisse. This guy's famous in the makeup artist community, so you guys might want to check it out too. And blend those foundations together. Now, you're going to get a much, much more lightweight consistency that's going to be beautiful for that summer glow without having to have that cakey finish in your skin. All you have to do afterwards is tap a little bit with your fingertips and blend all over that beautiful skin of yours. Now, you might want to do a little bit of powder if you're a little bit more on the oily side, like myself, because that tinted moisturizer will make you look a little extra glossy. And we all love a glow, but we don't like to look greasy, y'all, alrighty? Anyways, guys, I want you guys to try this out at home and let me know how it works for you. You can do this with a Revlon, with a Maybelline, whatever you may. Try it out with MAC too. It'll be looking real cute. And this is a great way, once again, to save some money, honey. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this. Write me at Jeray for the Slay on all social media platforms. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Super Tuesday is the single biggest day of voting. Since there isn't a national primary for presidential nominations, this is as close as we get. And we don't have to go too far back to track the tradition. The first Super Tuesday was in 1988, where several southern states scheduled their primaries together to try to nominate someone more moderate. Today's Super Tuesday is more geographically spread out, and it's less about specific regions trying to swing the election. It's become more about a sink or swim test for candidates. And if history is any indicator, the winner of 17 out of 18 Super Tuesdays went on to win their party's nomination. This year, 14 states are heading to the polls, making more than a third of all delegates up for grabs on this day. Super Tuesday is big, but still relatively early in the primary process. There will be primaries and caucuses happening until June.
Welcome back to DBL. Sleeping in on the weekends can actually hurt your health.
Lindsay.
What? I sleep till 3 p.m.
No, we're talking about in today's Rise and Thrive, sponsored by So Clean. Lindsay, pay attention to this. According to a new Harvard study, if you sleep in 90 minutes later than usual, your risk of heart disease or heart attack can go up.
Wow.
The more your sleep patterns change, the higher risk you have, but you can change your poor sleep habits. Experts say exercise. As little as 10 minutes per day of walking can improve your sleep. Next, get cool. You know I am. Keep your room between 60 to 67 degrees.
Yes.
Also, avoid nicotine or coffee mid-afternoon. This can ruin your sleep. And finally, make it dark. Eliminate all bright lights, even the blue light, from your smartphone or laptop.
Yep.
And remember, for more ways to rest easy, go to SoClean.com or call 1-800-731-1648.
I agree with all those.
Yeah,
I
those
keep
are
my
good
apartment
advice.
at 64 and I sleep with the eye shade.
Do you
I sleep with the eye shade too.
Yeah.
I do too, but mine's the big one with Bluetooth, and I don't listen, so it's just like, good night, Brooks.
You guys keep your, I can't even talk about the temperature. I keep my house on like 72.
Yeah,
Wow. I keep my house like that, but not my bedroom.
All right, we'll see you same time, same place
Have one that
tomorrow.
controls your bedroom?
Yeah. Upstairs, downstairs.